What is going on, internet? Mighty Fine back for another week of new opportunities in FX, commodities, and even indices. Hope you guys are having a good weekend and you're feeling prepared for the week coming up. If you aren't already connected to my free Discord server, go check it out. Link is below this video. I send out this video early to those folks. Plus, I send out charts that correlate with my analysis, again, for free for you to reference, compare against, so on and so forth throughout the week, easier than watching through a video. And I'll start to send out some links here and there for my sort of like preparation when I'm building these charts, in case people want to sit in and observe or pick my brain. I can maybe answer some questions, things like that. So go check that out. Link is below this video. And as always, give this thing a thumbs up. Drop a comment, show me some love. It helps it spread to other people on YouTube who need free resources, and it helps kind of to get this above some of the bullshit that's out there. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. I've got a few FX pairs plus gold, and I pulled up Nasdaq for you guys. Nasdaq is kind of my daily trade instrument. I love trading it because I can have a shorter work day and it's always pretty good. Okay, so first we're going to start out with the US dollar. Overall, this thing is super bullish. All right, we had this nice big expansion last week. We can see that a new high was created, and then buyers started to take a little bit of profit. We can see some selling pressure. Supply was created at this new high time frame trend high. So I left this last zone and the arrows on there for you just to indicate that the analysis was correct and that we're getting an expansion of the trend. Important points, right? So the buying bias was solid. At some point here, it's very likely that new orders are going to be needed in order to push this thing into another trend leg up higher. So I think my real question is, as we get down into the 4-hour chart here, where does this thing pull back into? There's a couple areas that could be interesting. The most immediate one would be the H4 demand that I highlighted here. A playback into that is sort of break or bounce. This arrow should be right there. So below this, it's likely that price is going to continue to push down if we crack that H4 demand, but that's not really a trade that I would look for here. I would certainly watch out for this large injection of capital right here, this big imbalance. For those of you familiar with smart money concepts, imbalances show excess buying or excess selling pressure in the market, and they often mark a really important level of liquidity. Anyways, so watch this level here, and then I would also say to watch this daily demand. The weekly and daily demands are kind of stacked together, and I find that that's important, right? However, if price can break below this 12282 region here, the bottom of the daily demand, the bottom of the previous range, so on and so forth, it's very likely that we're getting a pullback relative to something even larger. So important level here is what I'm trying to get at, the daily and weekly demand zone. If it gets below H4 demand, you could watch right here for a transition into bullish behavior. However, I think it's more likely that price comes back down and retests something like this. So I would look to potentially sell the dollar under this weekly and daily demand. I would need to see, again, a nice big indication of volume pointing downwards, a break of that level, and then a retest and continuation. But as of now, definitely very bullish. Needs some sort of retracement to get those new orders in. And so I'm just going to kind of watch that. Your most immediate demand would really be this level where we finished off the week right here. And I bet you that this gets taken out. It's pretty weak demand leading up into it. And this isn't the best price point to buy from. So it's likely that profit will be taken to try and get this price point a little bit more advantageous to the long-term trend creating buyers. And then that's that. So there we go, US dollar. We're going to go over to Aussie dollar, which again, we've been talking about this. It's been a bit divergent, meaning that the Aussie dollar has been really strong. And even though the dollar's been strong, Aussie dollar, US dollar has been trending upwards. Now, I think that we're already seeing a bit of this retracement leg against that higher time frame trend. If you go to the weekly, you can see that we had this big old push to the upside. This is really interesting, and this lower eyeball here to the top eyeball here represents the overall trend leg of price action, meaning the current relevant price action area to pay attention to. Now, we've gotten this daily break of flow right here, and I have a little note for you here that says this likely indicates that a retracement relative to this whole leg is starting. So your immediate bias could change within this. If you were to see something relative to maybe this red poly box that we'll look at on the H4, if we saw a retracement and then new bearish pressure, we could look to fade the Aussie dollar further down towards this weekly demand, where we again see a large indication of volume and a nice imbalance here. Anything below weekly demand, you can definitely sell it. I think there's plenty of room to the downside under this retracement flow low to sell it as well. So as of right now, kind of a bearish bias on this one. Keep in mind that it is likely a retracement against this weekly leg that I was talking about here. And if price can get above this level, then it's bullish again. So pretty simple, pretty objective analysis here. GBPUSD is going to be the next one. I've got some time frame notes on this one for you as well. Weekly, daily, and H4 notes here. Give that a quick read. Pause it and then, restart, whatever's clever. Ultimately, we see that we had this nice trend expansion to the downside. Trend is bearish on the weekly and daily charts. We had that fresh expansion here on Friday. Again, they're gonna need some more orders to push this thing down. So the question really is, where does that come in? And the levels that we want to watch for potential retests and new orders are going to be our H4 supply, our immediate daily supply that I have marked out here. Excuse me, let me stretch that out for you. H4 supply here, breaker bounce, wouldn't take the upside move. I would take a short if it transitioned here. Same deal on this immediate daily supply. We can see that there certainly was some liquidity and decision made to make this expansion leg. However, if price goes above that, I would just wait for this overall daily supply up top. Anything above this, go into a long bias. So for example, if you were to see price do something, like this, where it breaks all these levels and then it cracks into a new high, look for that retracement and then the continuation up higher, right? Wait for that level to break. However, if you see a transition under this overall daily supply zone right over here, if you see a transition on maybe your M30 or your H1, you could look to get in on bearish order flow because it is pro trend with your daily and weekly direction. So overall, bearish, probably needs some modicum of retracement, and that would make sense with our US dollar analysis as well. So just kind of be patient and watch this H4 supply level. It's going to tell us a lot about whether we're going to get a quick retest or a deeper retest. GBPJPY, kind of just consolidation to end the week here. Again, got some time frame notes for you. I'm going to bounce back up to the daily real quick. This, not much has changed. Right, we retested that daily demand that I highlighted for you guys last week pretty much perfectly. Had a nice little retracement and transition here, and a really good long trade opportunity, but it's lacking in gusto. There's not a lot of momentum or inertia, meaning there's not a ton of buy orders that have continually been placed to create a new trend expansion. Right. Overall, we are looking very, very bullish. However, it's kind of ranged up the last 2 or 3 days. And we want to watch the lower time frame to kind of get a hint about what the next move is. I'm going to keep a long bias above this daily demand and this H4 higher low level that I have pointed out here. Anything below that, my bias will change to immediately bearish, probably a pullback into the 151.500 region. Now, if price just cracks above the consolidation here, I'm not doing anything. Ultimately, at this point, I would only look to buy this pair somewhere closer to this, or on a fresh break to the upside and then some sort of retracement wherever that may fall. Who knows? 1, 2, 3. But ultimately, we're just looking for some form of break to the upside, retracement, transition, and then to get in on a new expansion upwards. So long bias overall, not a lot to do here at this point. We need some more data because it's just sitting in transitional price action as of right now. So I'm gonna just kind of watch this one, and that's kind of the same story that we're gonna see on EJ, which we will look at now. EURJPY just kind of dog shit last week, right? It didn't really do anything. It just sat totally sideways for like 5 days. So our analysis really hasn't changed any. I've highlighted a couple of levels here that would be interesting if we got an H4 demand break. If this thing decides to just start going bullish from here, you would want to watch the daily, the H8 and the H4 chart. I think that an indication that it's moving bullish again would be a break of something like this level right here, which I would call my H4 immediate supply, right? This is sort of a retracement leg here. And if price can get above this level that gave us this last little push to the downside, if price can get above this level right here, then I think that we're potentially getting out of this consolidation and pushing to the upside. We need to see a new order flow, meaning higher lows and higher highs, come back and retest this flow high and look for an expansion. You could look to get in on a break of this H4 supply and a new pullback into bullish order flow. That's one way to do it. The second way to do it would be to look more towards this area or somewhere lower for a deeper pullback. With that being said, I would be very cautious around this H4 demand level. If you were to see real big candles come in and take this thing out, then you could look for potentially an immediate, short-term short position deeper back into one of those levels that I was talking about earlier. So that's the only way, if I had a lot of volume to break this level and price could really stick past it. That's the only way that I would look to take shorts on this, because it is overall trending upwards. And I wouldn't necessarily want to be caught in an overshoot or a liquidation at this point. So, optimistically bullish, I would say, but just be patient and passively watch this one. This is lower priority for me this week, but I am interested in it because it just kind of just sat sideways last week. Really no change in our bias, so not much to talk about there. Gold, sort of the same deal. We've been sitting in this big range, right? And it makes sense. There's really been no serious change or development in the whole Russia-Ukraine geopolitical thing. There really hasn't been any, impact per se, or, altercations around sanctions or trying to kind of economically isolate the aggressor. So nothing's really happened, but I do think overall that this thing is bullish. And this, obviously there could be a plethora of things. There's a lot of things that affect gold, particularly, it moving upwards at this time. That could be stock market uncertainties in the US or Europe or whatever. It could be further geopolitical tensions. It could be new geopolitical tensions. It could be COVID in Shanghai. It really could be a lot of things. But what I'm trying to get at here is there's a lot more issues in the world that are supporting an overall fundamental bullish bias, in my opinion. So technicals are pointing upwards, even though it's really ranged. I'm still preferring the upside because of the fundamental read, and high time frame daily, weekly technicals are pointing upwards as well. So one way that you could look at this is this was a big push to the downside, getting into this nice little price point that we talked about here, that daily demand and higher low, right? As soon as price tapped into that, buyers stepped in a big way, broke that H4 flow there, and it looks like buyers kind of finished off the week strong. So how would I play this? I've got a couple of notes here for you, and it says if this range supply is broken, I would take it as an indication that buyers overall are taking that control. And I would look to take some sort of break and retest relative to, maybe this leg or this demand right here. So maybe it's right here, maybe it's right here, but either way, I would look for some sort of retest, intraday transition, boom, and then there, right? So new trend push up to the upside. And I would pretty much just watch this immediate supply level here. You can see there's lots of pressure to the downside, as well as that trend high for potential TPs, right? First level, it has to break, new high, 2, 3, anything above this level, anything above 2070, you should see a pretty vicious expansion to the upside. So overall, I'm favoring upside on gold. Need a little bit more data, but it's close. It's almost there if we can break above this, sort of immediate daily supply, the top of the range here. Last but not least, like I said, we're just going to peek really quickly at Nasdaq. Big selling, big selling last week. If you guys don't already have my New York TVW indicator, it's on my trading view profile under scripts. It's called theoretical volume window. Pretty much what it does is it throws on these color bands that I coded for the world, and it highlights the kill zones for Nasdaq, for US 30, and for S&P 500. This is all based on publicly available information around the New York Stock Exchange. But what you'll notice is a lot of the time, there's really nice moves at certain colors within this thing. So I'll let you play with that. You can go check it out. Again, it's on my scripts. On TradingView, I am Mighty Financial on there. It's called the Theoretical Volume Window, TVW. Anywho, let's look at the daily. What we can see here is that this was a daily and a really like a weekly break of flow to the upside. Big ass volume doing so, right? Well, again, like we've been talking about today, they're gonna need more orders. If highest time frames are transitioning back into bullish flow or pushing up further, then they're gonna need more orders. So it's very likely that we pull back relative to these white candles right here. And that makes a lot of sense why we're kind of pushing downwards, right? Profit taking and then reaccumulation further down here into new buy orders. For right now, I'm going to look to potentially fade this further down. I'm just going to read the daily flow as I always do around the time that I sit down to trade. So as of right now, because of this H4 break of flow here, because of this failure to create new highs, because of the volume pointing to the downside in the earlier portion of the week, and then to finish off on Friday, fresh expansions into new lows, I do have an immediate bearish bias. But some areas that I'm really interested are the 14,000 region, as well as about 13,100 region. So keep that in mind if you are a Nasdaq trader. It is my pretty much only pair that I trade anymore, unless I see those big high time frame Forex or gold commodities moves that I talk about with you guys here. So that's pretty much it for the week, guys. I hope that you guys have had a good weekend. Again, give this thing a thumbs up, let it spread around to the world, get into that Discord, tap in, lots of free good stuff in there. And if you want to learn more about what I do, check out my link in the bio from my website, mightyfinefx.com. I've got one-on-one like private mentorship, as well as my standard community mentorship with Discord, the full content library, so on and so forth. So if you need anything, you know where to find me. And until next week, have fun, trade safe. Mighty Fine out.